left so frustrated by the goal right at the death, disallowed after consultation with VAR. These two are disagreeing, so let's go to the former Premier League referee Dermot Gallagher in the match centre. We thought it might be a day where we wouldn't have to speak to you, Derm. I don't mean that disrespectfully, but good to see you. So, is that the right call?
I think so. I think when you see the angle from behind the goal, Steve, he's clearly in his line of vision. Also, as the ball travels in, he pulls his foot away. So I think them things taken into account, John Moss is absolutely right to disallow it.
Dermot, I mean, I know you've said line of vision there. I'm pretty certain that De Gea at all points can see the ball. Why would you just? I mean, for one, he's lying on the floor, and the other is he's 6'4". So I mean, surely he can see the ball. How can you sort of say it's line of vision?
Well, I think that's how the law's set up, Michael. You know, if you're directly in the line of vision, this is a great angle. You see there, I think he's directly in De Gea's line of vision. You see De Gea trying to go for the ball. It comes past Sigurdsson. He takes his leg away and think, that's the angle that John Moss would go on, and I think that's the angle that proves conclusively that he's right.
Dermot, I'm claiming that well,
and what about this? As soon as you come on the pitch, I guess as a manager, you're running a risk, are you?
Oh, Steve, you run a risk anyhow coming on because you're obviously upset, you know that. He's obviously said something untoward, and Chris has taken umbrage and red carded him. You know, it's just a follow-on from the goal, isn't it? He's upset. He'll probably regret it as soon as he gets back to change room, but unfortunately it's too late.
The referee. Is that what you say? Or Ancelotti?
Ancelotti. I think he'll regret it.
Do you not think the referee should be a little bit stronger there and have a bit more understanding about, you know, what's just happened and just let it go?
I think the difficulty is, Peter, that we don't know what he said. You know, he could have said anything. He's obviously said something that's really upset Cab, because in them situations, I think referees, you know, myself included, we always take a little bit more stick than we should do. So to react like that, he has gone a step too far.
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw the goal, I must admit, I thought, you know, the goal would have been a goal regardless of whether Richarlison was lying on the floor or not. So that's why I'm probably angling towards there was no interfering. So that's why I was probably thinking. Don Hutchison as well in commentary thought the same thing. But I do take your point, Dermot, and as you say, this is the main one. I think moving your legs away, because then that is sort of, you know, you're active. You're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe the vision, I'm still a bit debatable on.
Well, I think when you look at it, Michael, I think most people would err towards offside there. That for me, this angle is the one that convinced me. When I first saw it, I called offside. When I see that, I'm convinced he's right.
Problem with these goal scorers, you see, they just can't accept goals being taken off them, Dermot. It's an old habit that dies hard. But thank you very much indeed for clearing that up for us.
No problem.
Apart from the end, it was a dramatic game all in all, really, wasn't it?
It was a fantastic game of football, really a fantastic game of football. And we saw literally everything. We got that red card right at the end there, so we did see everything. We saw mistakes by the goalkeeper. We saw incredible saves by the goalkeeper. We saw some very big performance. Calvert-Lewin played fantastic. Fernandes played fantastic. And then, of course, we had a small bit of controversy. We should have maybe I had a red card in the first half. We didn't have that. And then this dramatic end, which we are going to talk about.
Let's go back to the beginning, though, with that error from David De Gea. Have you come to any conclusion as to perhaps what was going through his mind yet?
No, but I just think that back to the Maguire now, and then you start again. But it's the beginning of the game. Let's get everybody a little bit of touch. You know, you could even give it to Lindelof there. He's got Matic is always available, also available there. He doesn't do that. I just think it's one of them. He doesn't realise how close he gets, and then you can't redo that. And I said at half-time, lack of concentration. I like what Lindelof just did there, picked the ball up, gave him a little nudge, so he's got plenty of time.
Michael, we also said at half-time it wasn't his first. Since the start of last season, 7 errors that have led to goals, which is joint most in the Premier League.
Yeah, joint most in the Premier League, and that's not a great start. I know, Peter, you thought that was a bit harsh with the...
The way to win the championships and to finish and do the work is not to give anything away easily. You don't do that. So that means you take your chances when you get them. So you win the 1-0s in the difficult games, but you keep the clean sheets. You don't give any goals away. If you're conceding goals, teams, they have to work really, really hard to get those goals, and you don't give them away. And you can argue that we saw that graphics there. So 7 games, it's 7 mistakes that led to loss of points. That's too many, even over the course of a season and a half, or maybe a little bit more than that. That is too much for a top club, and that is something that David De Gea needs to get out of his game. He needs possibly better concentration, and you know, then you can open the question up. You know, what's happened to him since this has started, and you know, that is a really, really big sort of discussion. You know, and you know, that is a really, really big sort of discussion. You know, and you know, that is a really, really big sort of discussion. You know, and you know, that is a really, really big sort of discussion. You know, and you know, that is a really, really big sort of discussion. You know, and you know, that is a really, really big sort of discussion. You know, and you know, that is a really, really big sort of discussion. You know, and you know, that is a really, really big sort of discussion. You know, and you know, that is a really, really big sort of discussion. You know, started. You know, that is a really, really big sort of discussion. You know, started, and you know, that is a really, really big sort of discussion. You know, started, and that is a really, really big sort of discussion. You know, started, and that is a really, really big sort of discussion. You know, started, and that is a really, really big sort of discussion. You know, started, and is a really, really big sort of discussion. You know, started, and really, really big sort of discussion. You know, started, and you know, really big sort of discussion. You know, started, and you know, sort of discussion. You know, started, and you know, that is a discussion. You know, started, and you know, that is a discussion. You know, started, and you know, that is a really, really discussion. You know,
to be very, very calm. You know, that type of influence where he just almost every save he makes, he's coming out and he's running, he's screaming, and he's doing all these things, but it looks like it's all out of control. And his goalkeeping sort of mirrors that, mirrors his attitude. And Peter referred to it before the game in terms of he makes erratic decisions. So I just want to see him a little bit calmer. My goalkeeper, if he was going to be my goalkeeper, I'd want to be, you know, seeing him in a much calmer state than he always is.
Yeah, you would rather have him conceding that, you know, so that's a goal, and not making this incredible, fantastic save, but then trusting him in everything else that he does, you know, the easy shots. So for instance, when Bruno Fernandes hits the ball, you know, as a defender, you know, that's fine because I've got a goalkeeper there. What you don't want to is because what we do is we have deals with or agreements with our defenders. If this happens or that, you know, you push him out to there, then I'll deal with the angle, I'll close it down or whatever. But if you don't then do your bit of it, so saving the ball, then they start to lose confidence in you. And that means that every time something happens, they are in doubt. Am I going to do this, which is probably the best for the team, or am I going to charge out and you know, close him down because so you kind of get caught in between two minds where you, as a defender, you would just want to do what you have to do because you know every other guy in that back four line, or the goalkeeper, or the guy right in front of you is doing his job. And that's how you keep clean sheets. That's how you
He always is.
Yeah, you would rather have him conceding that, so that's a goal, and not making this incredible, fantastic save, but then trusting him in everything else that he does, the easy shots. So for instance, when Bruno Fernandes hits the ball, as a defender, that's fine because I've got a goalkeeper there. What you don't want to is because what we do is we have deals with or agreements with our defenders. If this happens or that, you push him out to there, then I'll deal with the angle, I'll close it down or whatever. But if you don't then do your bit of it, so saving the ball, then they start to lose confidence in you. And that means that every time something happens, they are in doubt. Am I going to do this, which is probably the best for the team, or am I going to charge out and close him down because So you kind of get caught in between two minds where you, as a defender, you would want to do what you have to do because every other guy in that back four line, or the goalkeeper, or the guy right in front of you is doing his job. And that's how you keep clean sheets. That's how you build results, is by having that kind of trust. Then when you get further up the pitch, you got the Fernandes, the Martials, the Owens, all these that can take little chances and do different things in order to create a chance to score goals. But you can't do that at the back. You have to have that.
And that once again has not disappointed, with the bottom club beating third from top on Friday. Big blow for Brighton yesterday, a point for Bournemouth. The 0-0 draw between Newcastle and Burnley. Huge win for West Ham, of course, that astonishing one for Watford, ending Liverpool's 44-match unbeaten run. And then the two stories today. 1-1 doesn't really tell the story of Goodison with those late dramas with Carlo Ancelotti's red card as well. And defeat for Spurs, and another victory from behind for Wolverhampton Wanderers. So in terms of the race for Europe now, the big winners today, Chelsea really, because they still have that 3-point buffer between themselves and Manchester United. But Wolves have gone level on points with United as well. 2 clear of Spurs, who remain level with Sheffield United, and 2 ahead of Burnley. All changed yesterday, of course. At the bottom, Aston Villa kick off shortly at Wembley in the League Cup final without kicking a ball. They dropped into the relegation zone. So too did Bournemouth, only because Watford's third goal, scored by Troy Deeney against Liverpool, took them out of the drop zone. Bournemouth, Watford and West Ham locked on 27 points, just a point now behind Brighton. Well, so much to get into from today's games. They're still disagreeing. They'll disagree a lot more along the way as well. There were big calls, there were big mistakes, big headlines. At the end of it all, it is a point apiece. That man in the news again, but Carlo Ancelotti left frustrated right at the death.